It has been a week of disasters and at the same time of celebrations too. Welcome once again to News Analysis. News Analysis, a weekly magazine on current affairs. To begin with the main points in a nutshell. Militant groups is intact after Mumbai siege. China's ties with Iran complicate diplomacy. Tourist boat capsized, kills 32. Earthquake in Indonesia, more than 1,000 people dead. China and OIC Islamic countries resort to separate considerations for people of Jammu and Kashmir. Grand 60th anniversary celebrations in China. And now the news in detail. Militant group is intact after the Mumbai siege. 10 months after the devastating attacks in Mumbai city by Pakistan-based militants, the group behind the assault remains largely intact and determined to strike India once again, according to the current and former members of the group, Lashkar-e-Taiba and intelligence officials. Despite pledges from Pakistan to dismantle militant groups operating on its soil and the arrest of a handful of operatives, Lashkar has persisted, even flourished, since 10 recruits killed 163 people in a rampage through Mumbai, India's financial capital, last November. Indian and Pakistani dossiers on the Mumbai investigations offer a detailed picture of the operations of Lashkar networks that spans Pakistan. It included 4 houses and 2 training camps here in the sprawling southern port city that were used to prepare the attacks. Among the organizers, the Pakistani document says, was Hamad Amin Sadiq, a homeopathic pharmacist who arranged bank accounts and secured supplies. He and 6 others begin their formal trial on Saturday in Pakistan, though Indian authorities say the prosecution stops well short of top Lashkar leaders. Indeed, Lashkar's broader network endures and can be mobilized quickly for elaborate attacks with relatively few resources, according to a dozen current and former Lashkar militants and intelligence officials from United States, Europe, India and Pakistan. China's ties with Iran complicate diplomacy. Leaders of the House of Foreign Affairs Committee swept into Beijing last month to meet with Chinese officials carrying a plea from Washington. If Iran were to be kept from developing nuclear weapons, China would have thrown more diplomatic weight behind the cause. In fact, the appeal had been largely answered even before the legislators arrived. In June, China National Petroleum signed a $5 billion deal to develop the South Pars natural gas field in Iran. In July, Iran invited Chinese companies to join a $42.8 billion project to build 7 oil refineries and a 1,019-mile Trans-Iran pipeline. And in August, almost as Americans arrived in China, Tehran and Beijing struck another deal, this time for $3 billion that will pave the way for China to help Iran expand 2 more oil refineries. More than 1,000 people declared dead in Indonesian earthquake. Acute shortage of equipment, doctors and other personnel delays rescue operations. No tractors were available to move the rubble that was their office before Wednesday's mighty earthquake felled the modest port city. So workers started digging feverishly with their bare hands. My friend is still trapped inside, said a 20-year-old boy named Yudi. He had been making photocopies in the building when he felt the first tremors of the 7.6 magnitude quake shortly after 5 p.m. on last Wednesday. I ran outside as fast as I could, said Yudi, who, like many Indonesians, use only one name. Everyone was panicking, trying to save themselves, but some one of us didn't make it out. The death toll rose to 1,100 people on Thursday, with many hundreds more injured, according to John Holmes, the United Nations humanitarian coordinator, speaking at a news conference at the United Nations. I fear these numbers will rise more as information reach becomes more people vulnerable to the incident, Mr. Holmes said. On Thursday morning, just as the city's airport was reopening and rescue teams were setting to work, Padang was rattled by another earthquake, this one registering a magnitude of 6.6. The second quake, which is hit about 150 miles south of Padang, damaged hundreds of buildings in the nearby town of Jambi, officials said. There were no reports of casualties so far from the second tremor, Mr. Holmes said. Thousands still trapped by quake. Almost 3,000 people are still trapped under rubble following Wednesday's powerful earthquake off Indonesian island of Sumatra, officials say. Rescue teams from several countries are heading to the Indonesian city of Padang in last push to save lives. Some were focused on a hotel where as many as 8 people may still be alive and where noises were heard. People's Republic of China celebrates 60th anniversary. China's leaders marked their nation's 60th anniversary on Thursday with a precision display of military bravado, a fleet of floats representing everything from a giant fish to Mount Everest, and improbably a female militia unit toting submachine guns and attired in red miniskirts and white jackboots. The anniversary of party's overarching theme echoed the words Mao spoke after forcing the nationalists to surrender Beijing in 1949. Ours will no longer be a nation subject to insult and humiliation. We have stood up. People's Liberation Army naval officer marched past Tiananmen Square. Nearly 190,000 dancers, politicians, soldiers and fighter pilots prepared for the highly synchronized extravaganza. Children waited to perform in Tiananmen Square. People's Liberation Army soldiers marched down Shahan Avenue prior to the military parade. The vast display of military power received by far the most attention. While China's military remains well behind that of many developed nations in sophistication and firepower, analysts said its progress since the last such parade in 1999 was impressive. Jubilant civilians participated in huge processions. See a father carrying his daughter during the celebrations. Residents gathered around portable TV sets to watch the festivals. Most Beijing's 17 million citizens had to watch the spectacle on television sets only because the security measures had declared the parade route and surrounding areas. Crowds gathered to watch the Nation Day parade at Plaza in Jinan in the eastern Chinese province of Jiangdong. China's leader and spectators waited at Tiananmen Gate before the start of the parade. The gate, known as the Gates of Heavenly Peace, is where Mao declared the Communist Party's victory in 1949. Most men of the crowd could watch President Hu Jintao on a monitor at the celebration in Beijing. President Hu Jintao left and former President Jiang Zemin attended a banquet marking the anniversary. When Jiabao, the Prime Minister, addressed the banquet, pledging China's commitment to global economic recovery. A banquet was held at the Great Hall of the People for more than 40,000 people.